all the royal family. They've all been tarred with this brush now for years. Well, I'm going to end all this nonsense because, frankly, if a book is on the streets in Holland, available to Dutch people, containing names that Omid Scobie, the lickspittle scribe for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the man who you may remember denied they had any involvement in the last book, and so did Meghan. Do you remember? No, had nothing to do with it. But then in court, wait for it, many months after the book was published, under oath, she had to admit she had emailed her aides briefing notes for when they met Scobie. So she was one of his primary sources on that first book. Now again, we're being told she had nothing to do with this, and maybe she didn't. And maybe we should be believing Omid Scobie when he says he did not ever write these names down in any draft of his book. It just somehow popped up in the Dutch version of the book. How? I've written 10 books, I think it is now. I've never had a version of my book pop up in a foreign edition that contained unbelievably damning allegations about two of the most famous people in the world, and I had nothing to do with it and didn't know how it got there, and nor did anybody else. Wait for it. How does it get there, Omid? Surely you as the author, I mean, you must be furious, right? You must be demanding. Heads roll. And you want names, don't you, ironically, Omid, about who did this to you? You, who besmirched your reputation as an author? I would, Omid. I'd want to know right now, especially if I was trying to convince the world that I had nothing to do with it myself, and I'd never, ever put these names in writing, and maybe I'm listening. You have my attention. Some lawyer had come along and told me not to. I mean, that couldn't possibly have happened because you've given us your word, and as I've established so far in this monologue, your word is your bond and should be taken as sacrosanct. Well, I'm going to cut through all this crap. I'm going to tell you the names of the two senior royals who are named in that Dutch version of the book. Because frankly, if Dutch people wandering into a bookshop can pick it up and see these names, then you, British people here, who actually pay for the British royal family, you're entitled to know too. And then we can have a more open debate about this whole farrago. Because I don't believe any racist comments were ever made by any of the royal family. And until there is actual evidence of those comments being made, I will never believe it. But now we can start the process of finding out if they ever got uttered, what the context was, and whether there was any racial intent at all. Like I say, I don't believe there was. The royals who are named in this book are King Charles and Catherine, Princess of Wales. It's almost 4 years now since Harry and Meghan made the groundbreaking announcement. They were quitting the royal family, stepping down as senior royals, moving to the United States and finding freedom. Well, since that moment, they've systematically and relentlessly exploited their existing royal status to make as much money as possible, while simultaneously trashing the royals and the monarchy to preserve their exposure and relevance. I think it's time we brought the Sussex circus to a formal end. Conservative MP Bob Seeley is now introducing a bill in Parliament to strip them formally of their titles. The Duke and Duchess can be Mr. and Mrs. like the rest of us, he said. Someone doesn't want to be a royal, that's a decision we respect. They shouldn't keep the titles and privileges if they trash an institution that plays an important part in our nation's life. I think he's right. And as he also says, the baseless racism claims that embroil the King and Princess of Wales, well, they should be the final straw, shouldn't they? The author behind those damning claims, who claims he wasn't the author behind those damning claims, but who else could he have been the author of those damning claims, given it was in the manuscript of his own book in which these damning claims were made? Sussex lapdog Omid Scobie is still tying himself in the web of his own lies.
Yeah, what a series of events, right? And what a frustrating experience to me for a book that was so heavily vetted, legaled, I's dotted, T's crossed, and a book that I was extremely proud of, now completely overshadowed by an event that has caused me a lot of frustration as well. We've have a full investigation going on into this series of events that happened.
Yeah, I know you're frustrated, buddy, but imagine how frustrated King Charles is, or the Princess of Wales, that somehow they got called racists in a manuscript you claim you didn't actually draft that way. That's frustrating, isn't it? When the entire world is encouraged to think that you were named as racists. A little bit more frustrating than you not being able to work out why a draft of your own book appeared in the Netherlands and was translated from a copy that had the names on it that was sent to them apparently by your agent. How did your agent get that if you didn't write it? Does your agent write your books, Omid? Well, the Times has reported, like I said, that earlier version of the book did contain the names, and it was sent to the Dutch publisher. Harry and Meghan have stood by in stunning silence. So unlike them, isn't it? When private conversations of the kind that Meghan had with Charles in private letters began to circulate in this book as well, containing the names of the two people that she and Harry claim were racially insensitive about the potential skin colour of their baby. Now, these two can't normally wait to set the record straight, to sue, to go to court, to hold people to proper account for invasion of private correspondence or conversations. Why aren't they doing it now? They claim that they had nothing to do with Omid Scobie's new book. But you might remember Meghan claiming that about his last book. And then a strange thing happened. She was suing a newspaper, ironically, for invading her privacy over private correspondence. Are you serious? Rather similar to the situation we find ourselves in here. And when it came to the court case, after the book had been published that she had nothing to do with, she was forced to apologise because it turned out that not only had she had something to do with it, she'd given briefing notes to her aide to go to a meeting with Omid Scobie and brief him for the book. So she was a primary source for that book. So I don't know what you make of the silence from the Sussexes. We're into nearly week 2 now of a deafening, damning silence. Weird, right? Tessa Dunlop, you've been seething away quietly to my left. I can see you simmering.
Stop it.
So simmer away.
You appall me, Piers. Occasionally I think, no, he's found the light, he's seen the light, he's no longer crashing on about Harry. And then this appalling diatribe we've just had to sit through. You claiming, you lying there, suggesting that you're putting their names out effectively to save the monarchy. You put their names out for clicks. You're no better than Omid Scobie. In fact, you're worse. You call him a little spittle. You're a great big gob of phlegm that's just landed on the royal doormat. I don't know how you slept last night. I struggled to sleep thinking about what you'd done. I really can't. And yes, I did. I did know that. You suggest that.
Stop the performative crap. Honestly, it's performative crap.
No, let's just hold on to your
calm
words.
down, have a civilised conversation.
I'm not
the
calm.
idea you didn't sleep over this, you don't even know these people.
I was properly angry by your hypocrisy. And
are you serious?
then
What's
you
the
sit
hypocrisy?
there, because you spend day in, day out, you're pro-monarchy, the wonderful Queen, wonderful Charles, and then you go and dob Kate and Charles right in it when one's at COP28.
Oh, no,
yes, you did.
Wait a minute.
Yes, you did.
No. No.
Oh, yes, you
I'll
did.
tell you who did that. Omid Scobie. Because these names appeared in a draft of his book, which was published in the Netherlands.
And they were
for
under
sale
the line.
To Netherlands
it was
people.
tittle-tattle till you popped it on a Murdoch platform.
Yeah.
And now you've just had the gall to suggest
You're
that
on a Murdoch platform right now.
I know I am.
You got a
and
problem
I'm
with
just
that?
correcting the record.
You got a problem with that?
For the record, that was Piers' highly dubious opinion. I've got a problem with you tonight, Piers.
Serious?
A real problem.
Why would you have a problem with being on a Murdoch platform?
Because what you did was you put those names.
You're being paid to appear.
Yes, I know, but you took the names.
Why are you doing
the
that?
rumour.
Why are you being paid to appear
and
here?
you put it on an official platform.
Why are you being paid?
You turned it from fiction
Why
to
have
fact.
you accepted money from a Murdoch platform?
To challenge you about your behaviour and hypocrisy. And by the way, just the word baseless.
So
how do you know that Meghan's rumours were baseless? How do you know what she accused
Where's
the
the
royal
evidence?
family of?
Any of it?
But where's the evidence that it was baseless?
Where?
Well, obviously, it's very difficult when the two accusers are the chief witnesses.
They couldn't even decide on Oprah Winfrey what year these supposed conversations had happened or how many there were, right? They couldn't decide what year.
Doesn't mean it didn't happen. You
Really?
don't take notes and write in your diary.
Really?
Something happened.
Let me get a Dickie.
I just want to come in. You mentioned the Oprah interview, and quite frankly, Meghan said that the conversation happened when she was pregnant. About 10 minutes later, Harry came into the interview and said it happened before they were married.
Right.
So when did it happen? And did it happen? And there's a big question mark. I will take issue with you naming yesterday, and I made that point this morning. You are a bit of a law unto yourself.
It's worse than a law.
Excuse me, I didn't interrupt you.
Actually, just on the law point, it was entirely lawful what I did. So I did seek legal advice. I got very good, sound legal advice. And actually, there's no question. I didn't take the law onto myself. I actually applied the letter of the law. This information had been published in the Netherlands. Dutch people were free to read it. And I took a view. It was ridiculous that British people couldn't be aware of this information. I also said, when I named them, that I didn't believe a word of the racist allegations made against them.
I didn't either. I didn't believe anything of that interview. It was just a diatribe of absolute nonsense, as is the book Endgame. And as you rightly say, Endgame, the only person in Endgame is Scobie. But I did take issue in mentioning him last night. Yes, you have the Brits have a right to know. It's in the Dutch translation. But wait for it. There are those who will say agree with you. There were those who disagree with you.
Well, many of the papers who've held off apparently tonight are going to name them.
You gave them no choice.
Actually, you always got a choice. Sorry, you always have a choice.
Everybody's got a choice.
Everyone has a choice. Everyone had a choice when it was published in the Netherlands not to repeat the names, right? If they're all going to repeat them tonight in the papers, they were just a day after us, right? And I have a show called Uncensored for a reason. I don't believe in self-censorship. I don't believe when the Dutch people can read this information.
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
In a book available in bookstores, as some of them had already bought copies, that British people should be denied that information. And the information, by the way, is hugely significant. We've waited 2.5 years to find out who these members of the royal family were that Meghan Markle and Prince...
Weird people like you with an obsession, Piers, have been waiting 2.5 years.
No, actually the entire country has.
No, that's just it's a misrepresentation of most of the country.
What I actually want to know is, he said he had no help from the Sussex. Serious? And yet, on the other hand, he said he saw the letters.
Yeah.
So how did he see the letters?
How has he got the information?
Exactly.
He's not got it from King Charles.
No, it's all come from Montecito.